Hello, my name is Julia Shippey. My creative musicianship development project is in the area of creative listening. I feel that I want to teach my students to really listen when we listen to music, and I think that I first need to be able to do this myself. I feel like my own personal music listening self has been stifled over the past 10 years or so. It has dwindled down so that I hardly ever listen to music for pleasure, and I certainly have not listened to it attentively, deeply, or creatively. So I need to reawaken that part of my brain that takes pleasure in listening to music. And hopefully, I can impart unto my students a love of listening and the skills to do it actively and creatively. Given approximately 20 hours of personal development in this area, I want to learn or relearn how to hear every instrument or voice and to be consumed by the music. I want my students and I to develop big ears. My SMART goals for this are: I want to gain the skills and experience necessary to be a creative listener so that I may teach my students to be creative listeners in the coming year. Goal number 2, during these 4 weeks, I want to practice creative movement with my body so that I can comfortably and effectively model this for my students. And number 3, in 4 weeks, I want to achieve a personal opening to music and revive some feelings I lost touch with a long time ago. Materials. My materials for this project were very simple. Sometimes I used an old-fashioned radio where I gave up control and let someone else choose the music for me. Most of the time, I used a small speaker or earbuds and the app Spotify, which was new to me, so I had to deal with a little learning curve about that. I used this article by John Cradis, Music Listening is Creative, and specifically I found an outline of 12 categories that responses can fall into. These 12 things are rhythm, melody, harmony, texture, dynamics, form, timbre, process, image or story, emotion, style or context, and judgment. And of course, my last material was my journal. For each piece of music that I listened to, I wrote about it. Using a prompt from the Cradis, I wrote down whatever I heard, thought of, or felt while listening to each piece or song. Process. I began with Beethoven, specifically the Seventh Symphony, the second movement. This piece has always had a strong emotional effect on me, so I thought it would be a good place to start. On a rainy day, I put the speaker in the pocket of my coat. Then I went for a hike in the woods with Beethoven on repeat. The sound was big and alive in the woods, and I'm pretty sure nobody could hear it, even though it was very loud. While I was walking and listening, my mind focused on aspects of the music like instrumentation, style, dynamics, and form. I also felt a sort of tearing my heart out emotion. I think this was a good starting point for this journey because it encompassed so many parts of listening. Another album I listened to is something I know and love. It was an album called Uncommon Ritual by Edgar Meyer. The instrumentation is double bass, guitar, mandolin, and banjo. The music is incredibly diverse, from folksy country to contemporary compositions to a Bach contrapunctus, and I love every piece. In those listening sessions, my journaling was colorful with description. I wrote, "Now the tempo increases. It sounds like a swarm of bees rising to a forte climax." And I wrote that Meyer's bass sounded sassy, and that track 16 pounces its arrival. Because of a recommendation from Professor Russell, week 2 began with the album Kind of Blue by Miles Davis. This album holds a lot of memories for me as it is my gateway to loving jazz music back in high school. In my journal entries about this, I marveled about how I could still sing along with so many of the solos. Another thing that happened in week 2 was the inclusion of creative movement, which was a SMART goal number 2 and one of my artifacts. Enough just listening, let's get moving. I searched on the internet and came up with a list of movements that could be done creatively to